Hello, this is Krystal, and thank you for joining me for this week's First Chapter Friday. Today, we will continue with our adventure theme for summer reading with Tasha Alexander's The Adventuress. He must needs go that the devil drives. William Shakespeare. All's well that ends well. Chapter 1. The English Duke is dead. The words, muffled and heavily accented, hardly reached me through the voluminous duvet that, while I slept, had somehow twisted around me with such violence that it now more closely resembled mummy wrappings than a blanket. Struggling against its bonds, I managed to extricate one hand before realizing my head was under a stack of pillows. I flung them aside and sat up, turning to discover my husband was no longer next to me. The words came again, and this time vanquished in an instant all of the confusion clouding my mind, after being awoken from a deep slumber. Monsieur, the Duke, the English Duke, he is dead? Jeremy? I leapt from the bed, dragging the duvet with me. I had not been quite so successful in the removal of it from my person as I had hoped, and started for the narrow patch of light coming into our room from the door, held open by my husband, his dressing gown pulled around him. A chasm seemed to open inside me, as if my heart were splitting and filling me simultaneously with intolerable cold and heat. Jeremy Sheffield, Duke of Bainbridge, my dearest childhood friend, who had tormented me in my youth, not quite so much as I had tormented him, could not be dead. I tried to step forward, but my limbs would obey no commands. Is he in his suite? My husband asked. The man standing in the corridor nodded. I shall come at once. He must have closed the door, but I have no memory of him having done so. I collapsed in an undignified heap, my legs no longer able to support me. Emily, Colin knelt at my side, scooped me into his arms, and deposited me onto the bed. I must see what has happened, and will return as quickly as possible. Will you be all right? Yes, of course. I rubbed my face. No, I must come with you. I don't think you ought. His dark eyes locked onto mine, and I could see pain and worry and just a bit of frustration in them. I have to see him. No. He squeezed my hand and slipped the dressing gown from his shoulders, finding and putting on the stiff boiled shirt he had discarded earlier in the evening, with entirely no regard for its subsequent condition. After retrieving his trousers from the back of the chair and locating his shoes, one had disappeared under the bed, he shrugged into his tailor coat and walked to the door, pausing to turn back and look at me as he opened it. Had I not been so upset, I would have better appreciated the handsome dishevelment of his cobbled-together evening kit. I am so terribly sorry, Emily. The tears did not come before the door clicked shut behind him, but then my eyes produced a worthy monsoon. Sudden storms are short, however, and this was no time for succumbing to emotion. I splashed water on my face and pulled on my dressing gown. There could be no question of returning to my own previously discarded garments. Ladies' gowns are designed to require assistance, and while this may allow for a more beautifully designed bodice, it proves an immense frustration when one finds oneself on one's own. Fortunately, no one saw me slip out of our room, as there were not yet other guests meandering through the Hotel Britannia, the most fashionable place to stay in La Croisette in Cannes, and arguably on the whole of the Côte d'Azur. I'm so sorry, I cannot speak French at all, so I know I completely brutalized that. A clock near the carved marble staircase told me it was nearly 5:30 in the morning. Anyone awake now would either be a servant or someone staggering in from a long evening, probably spent playing baccarat at the Cercle Nautique. I climbed one flight to the top floor, where Jeremy had insisted on staying. The view, he said, was incomparable. His door was closed and locked, so I tapped on it, and a man I did not recognize opened it without delay. Madame, you would not wish. I pushed past him and went straight through the sitting room to the bedroom, where I saw my husband standing with two other men. On the bed was and if you would like to know what was on the bed, then you can read this title. You can check it out through the Evergreen app. Please join me here for the next first chapter reading title of Catherine Palmer's A Kiss of Adventure. Thank you and have a great week.